Welcome to the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Turilli-Smith, and today I'm thrilled to introduce an extraordinary guest whose mission and expertise are transforming lives, Dr. Ryan Lazarus. Dr. Lazarus is the founder and clinical director of the Lazarus Method, a cutting-edge health program that empowers individuals to take control of their well-being. With a master's degree in nutrition, a bachelor's in exercise science, and certifications as a functional medicine practitioner, nutrition specialist, personal trainer, and rehabilitation specialist, his credentials are just as impressive as his passion for helping others. In this episode, we'll dive deep into Dr. Lazarus' journey of resilience and determination. After enduring years of relentless pain and struggle, he took control of his own health journey, immersing himself in functional medicine, nutrition, fitness, and mental health to transform his life. Now his mission is to share the Lazarus Method with the world, helping others improve their health and maximizing their lives. We'll also explore his latest book, The Essential Health Playbook, a holistic method to beat fatigue, boost strength, and heal your gut. Dr. Lazarus' insights have been featured in numerous publications, and his expertise is revolutionizing how we approach health and wellness. Get ready for an inspiring and informative conversation that will leave you motivated to take charge of your health and achieve your fullest potential. Dr. Lazarus, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very happy you're here. I've been waiting for this episode for months. I wanted to start with something you said early on in your book, The Essential Health Playbook. You wrote, "It's often said that the darkest hours can lead to the most illuminating moments." You know, that sentence resonated so deeply with me because my own journey as a philanthropist and creating Party and Kindness came out of the deepest and darkest moment of my life. So can you take us back to that pivotal time in your life and how it's shaped your path to becoming a functional medicine practitioner?
Yeah, I would love to share. It was 30 years ago.
Wow.
That it happened. I was 18 years old and 2 months away from graduating high school and thought I had everything ready to go. Had a college, had a sport, had direction, knew myself, everything was there, the path was there, until it wasn't. And it was a very traumatic injury. It was not a knee or a shoulder. I had crushed my organs playing indoor soccer on a wall. And it was an emergency surgery that cut my abdomen open and removed my pancreas and my spleen. And the ramifications of this in the months that followed was a lot of fear and confusion and uncertainty and anxiety and anger that stayed with me for months and years. And so that's the darkness that I was talking about. Even just talking about it can kind of trigger the emotions. I was lost. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have people that could tell me what to do. And so that was the birth of, there's only one person that can figure this out. My parents care and the doctors care and the psychologists care, but I got to get out of this trench and I got to figure it out. And so that's kind of the classic dark to the light. And that was really the inspiration of why I do what I do and created the method. And now I want to heal people with what I learned.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just so impressive that, it might have taken you years to do it, but you decided and made a choice in your life that you weren't going to stay in that dark place, that you were going to find a way out. In your experience, what do you think the key to transforming that trauma into positive change is?
It's acceptance.
Yeah.
And it took me years to finally accept it. There was just a lot of resistance and victim of why is this happening? This shouldn't happen to me. This happened because of this. And it was finally the full true belief, not people telling me it was okay, but the acceptance. And then the resistance is less, the resistance is gone, the acceptance is there. And now I can start trying to figure out what do I need to do. And this happens in people's lives with all different types of trauma. It doesn't have to be, an injury or a trauma to an organ. This could be anything, a shift in someone's life where it rattles you to your core And some people will hold on to that resistance for many, many years. And from an energetic spiritual standpoint, that could be very detrimental to their health. And so, I use this acceptance also with my patients as well, and seeing where they're at, meeting them where they're at, and saying, well, how can we get there? And it's different for everyone's journey, but that's the answer is once I realized that, then I needed to figure out what I needed to do.
Yeah, I think that is such a difficult thing because your life changes so much in that moment. Like I get emotional too when I think about being in that hospital room with Sophia and not knowing that she was supposed to be born completely healthy. We weren't supposed to have the issues that we were having, and they were serious. And so when we got to leave that hospital, I had to make a choice because we've dealt with health issues with her forever. And I could be mad about it, or we could try to do better and we could try to help other people in those situations. So in your practice, what tends to drive people towards that change? Like what do you do to help them drive them to that change?
Yeah, I wrote in my book, and I've talked about this in so many different ways, but I see change as 4 ways. And what the first one what happened to me is when you have no other choice. Your back is against the wall. You really can't do anything about it, and you just need to change. That could be a diagnosis. It could be an injury. It could be a death in the family, a divorce. Again, something that shakes you to the core and say, I got to change. The others are a little bit more subtle. So, I wrote in the book, I say it's when you learn enough that you want to. Some people just don't have enough information to make a change. And so that's the second one. The third one is when you receive enough support or guidance or resources that you're actually able to. A lot of people want to change, but they don't know what to do. And then the third one is when you witness enough that you're inspired to. And so my answer to that is most people are coming in not with their back against the wall, but very close. And then can I teach them what they need to do? Can I give them the resources of how they can execute that and implement it? And then can I inspire and motivate them? And that's, I think, one of the magic sauces of how people finally say, okay, I got it. I know what I need to do. So many quotes I've used throughout the years. One of them that pertains to trauma in this is also life happens to you or life happens for you. And the best part is you get to decide. And I use that often, and it truly resonates with my being every single day. And I share it with my patients. And we have 2 ways of looking at things. And the 2 and the 4 really provides clarity for people.
I was reading your book and I loved it. I'm going to say that a million times during the podcast. But you can feel the passion that you have for what you do. Many people go to work every day. They feel very little fulfillment in what they do. A lot of times men specifically go to work, and do that, and they just grind and they find very little purpose. You've discovered this grand sense of purpose in your profession. What advice would you give others searching for this sense of purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a universal question right now. In fact, it's a very trendy word, purpose, right? It's all over, retreats and workshops and social media is, do you want to find your purpose? Do this. So I think many people are searching for this. My advice is maybe a little harsh, but this is my opinion.
I love it.
Is
give it to us.
Stop searching. Don't put that pressure on yourself when you try to search and read this book and listen to this podcast and go to this retreat and follow this reel or this person. You're searching. Open this door and look under this rock. My advice is simple, but it is disconnect from the noise and follow your curiosity and intuition. I see a lot of people that are disconnected from themselves and connected to the matrix, which is just a lot of noise, opinions. And so finding time and space to just sit with the roommate in your head and listen without judgment and be curious. And then, the universe has an amazing way of kind of showing you signs and signals. And it's not going to just lay down on your lap,
right?
But that would be my advice. Yeah.
Okay. So that advice just like hit home for me because I was alone in that hospital room in the silence. There was no social media. There was no people. There was no anything. And it was in that moment that I found my purpose. And so I love that advice because I think if people could just sit in silence and get to know themselves, like you said, they really would start to discover things about themselves that they didn't know was at their true core.
Yeah, I mean, this is the real pandemic. There's a lot of distractions now. And I think the average time somebody looks at their phone when they wake up is 45 seconds. These are, fundamental, habits and rituals that I have people do. It's just, hey, take a moment and take inventory. It could be in the morning, it could be in the afternoon, it could be whenever. But yeah, disconnect and be curious and intuition and journal. And there's a lot of different, there's a lot of things that I can recommend, but I would say a lot of people do not do that.
Yeah.
And it's very beneficial when you do.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'd love for you to share with the listeners the essential elements of the Lazarus Method. I learned them all in the book, which you all should read, but if you could just share those with us, I'd love it.
Yes. Well, thank you for asking about that. That started 30 years ago through the personal challenges and then the, designations and, going to school and getting all these certifications that you listed off. And it was born kind of with an ancient healing paradigm. So I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you the elements. It's chakras. Ayurvedic medicine and the 7 chakras are a big part of growing that. Meridians and energy fields, Stoic philosophy, Taoist philosophy, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, functional medicine matrix. It's really the merging of ancient healing wisdom and disciplines with new, modern, cutting-edge technology. And I was super proud of it, and I could see it, and it came to me, and I wrote it down, and then that's what the book is about. And so the 7 elements are on the bottom, what we call the foundation. It's nourish, rest, and move. So it's the food we're eating, the food maybe we're not eating, our hydration, and then, supplements that you should be taking or sometimes not taking. And then rest, how important sleep is. I'm sure you read all about that. Some very interesting stats in there. And then move. And move is not necessarily all exercise. It's moving in a way that we evolved to move and the pillars of movement. And so that's the foundation, right? And that's where a lot of people, when they think about health, diet and exercise, and then make sure I sleep. And those are very important. Those are physiological requirements. But the top 3 in the middle are often overlooked. And many would believe that are the most important. So it's learn, challenge, and connect. Learn is just being open to learning, like your listeners right here, learning about people's experiences in different podcasts, in books, different experiences, just being open to this. And this provides perspective. And then it helps with something called neuroplasticity, which is kind of rewiring the brain. Connect is, my definition of connect is connect to nature and utilizing the restorative aspects of being in nature. Connect to self, which is listening to that roommate in your head and being able to respond accordingly. And then connection to community. And connection to your tribe and community is extremely important. We're hardwired for this. So I go into a kind of a whole protocol for that. And then on the top of that is challenge, setting challenges for yourself. And they don't have to be big, audacious goals, just little tiny challenges. And that's where motivation, inspiration, and fulfillment comes from. So that's the top. And in the middle is the spark. And, that's a vague term, but my definition of spark would kind of move from soul to purpose to passion to your potential. And so I built this with the intention of explaining that every single one of them is extremely important in your health. And health is a vague term. Many people have different definitions of health. So this has kind of moved from like a health protocol to a performance protocol to almost like a life optimization. But when all of those elements are given the proper bandwidth and attention and energy, the spark is ignited, and then vice versa. And so those are the 7 elements.
Feeling good inside and out is so important to me, and that's why I love shopping eCosmetics. They offer the best in beauty from all of the top brands with great prices, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. It's my go-to for everything beauty. Head over to ecosmetics.com and use my code SAVVY25, that's SAVVY25 at checkout to get 25% off your purchase. So when I was reading the book, thank you for describing them all. When I was reading the book, 2 really stood out to me. One was Connect and one was the Spark. And starting with Connect, I am so hyper passionate, fierce about us being connected to our community. And I think connection to self is very important and connection to nature, but really that piece of being connected to your community and the people around you that love similar things, that fill you up, that give back to others, so that it's all like a symbiotic relationship within this community. Can you speak to the connect element a little in more detail?
Yes, of course. I love that you picked those out.
Yeah.
Because really, if you ask a human being or human beings that have been around for thousands of years, there's kind of 2 aspects that we want in life. And that is a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose or growing towards our potential, right? And that's spark and that's connect. A feeling of belonging feels like we're part of a tribe, and our tribe can be a small tribe, but it can also be the tribe that we live in, and that is our community. And we are hardwired that way. And if you look at the research and you start looking about, the very unique areas around the world, these are the blue zones, and they started doing research around it, and there was a book on it, and there was a documentary on it about these blue zones, and everyone ate differently and everyone moved differently, and there was different genetic links and different, demographics and different temperatures, but what did they all have in common? A sense of community and belonging. And so we're hardwired that way, and I think a lot of people these days feel a little bit disconnected from that, and I admire what you're doing, which is, bringing people together and talking about our community and how we can all contribute to it. And so I find it very fitting that you love
it really resonated with me, obviously, clearly. Like, it's something I'm very passionate about. And I love that you included it, though, in this plan of our health, because there is studies, and obviously you're probably well-versed, that when you are around your community or when you're helping others within your community, it sets off all of these chemicals in the brain and you become a happier person.
Yes. Yeah, that's fact.
Yeah.
I create something called a Thrive Tribe, and I talk about it in the book, and I've created it in different circles where it's a group of people that have kind of the same morals and values, but different perspectives, and we learn from each other, and we're all supporting each other in getting better in every aspect of our life. And I have it with men, with fathers. I have it in my practice. I have a global one, and hopefully I'll be part of your Thrive Tribe.
You are. You're already part of it. I'm so privileged to have you here and to consider you a friend, and that you are part of that tribe, because you do spread this spark out into our community and you're helping other people try to find it. What do you do to kind of encourage them to find that spark after they connect with everyone around them?
Yeah. Finding the spark is like very similar to like finding your purpose, right? So in addition to what I said before, is like kind of quiet the noise and sit with it. there's a questionnaire that I have, but you don't need to have the questionnaire to do this. But like taking inventory on like what your priorities are right now and what your values are. A lot of people carry on an old operating system into a new phase of life. And so like understanding what is the most important to you, right? Is it finances? Is it career? Is it your health and well-being? Is it your partnership? Is it your family? Is it social and entertainment? Is it your spirituality or faith? Is it your hobbies or your personal development? I mean, there's a lot of things going on. And so finding the spark is a process. One of the most important ones that I think is just take inventory and see where you're at right now. That's a great one. And then surround yourself with a great community. Remove the noise, release the valve off the brain, release the pressure gauge off the head, because we carry a lot of thoughts in there. So I would say journal and talk. And so that's a long answer to spark. But what I try to do in my practice is meet them where they're at, see where there might be a block in there or some resistance, and then give them a portal or an avenue to start investigating that.
Yeah, I love all those tips, because I was going to ask you, if you could give the listeners some tips from all of the different essentials, but I think you just did. All those tips are fantastic. And just starting with a couple of them, maybe journaling or, finding your Thrive Tribe, can get you moving in the right direction.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the framework was born, with those 7 elements, to find each individual's strengths and vulnerabilities in that. Because everyone in those 7 elements has a strength and a vulnerability. And me personally, I wake up every day and I take inventory on them. And I've been doing this for decades. But I teach this framework in my programs without judgment. Where am I? How is my nourishment? How is my exercise? How's my sleep right now? Do I feel disconnected from my friends? Do I have a challenge? Do I have a goal I'm moving towards? Do I feel like I have like a purpose I'm leaning into? Am I learning, or do I feel stale and going through, kind of the loops? And so when you do that, you can instantly, through this framework, kind of course correct. And that is, that's the Lazarus Method, essentially. But I do this assessment where it kind of shows them this, and it gives them literally a grade, a number from 0 to 10 on where they're at. And so from that point on, if they're vulnerable, let's just say in learn, then instead of trying to blow up their whole life and change all these things and, change an exercise plan and this diet and go to bed for 9 hours, it provides a little bit of direction about you need to tend to this element first, because that's the one that needs the most attention. And as it grows, you start to balance that. And so it's a very simple thing, but that's my instruction for the framework is once we speak the same language and they get it, it's like take inventory and then make a couple different behavior changes.
Right. Yeah. I think that's fantastic, because health does encompass so many things. And when we feel like we have to change everything, most people change nothing.
It's paralysis by analysis. Yeah. And I see it all the time. There's a lot of pressure people put on themselves with all of this recommendations. There's so much information right now, and you should do this, and I'm doing this, and look at this testimonial, and look at how this person looks, and this is the cheat code for this, and here is the book to do this. And it could be extremely overwhelming. And kind of what I do is just take what their goals are and what their symptoms are and what the assessment says and what their labs show. And I create a funnel and say, okay, this is where you need to start. And then we just work on it from there.
Yeah, I love that too, because, the answers could be inside of them. Yeah. That's pretty much what you're doing is you're revealing all the good things they're doing and all the things that they're maybe lacking, but you have the answers and they have the answers within them,
it's a great point.
To get to where they need to be.
Yes. That's very true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to look at it from a different perspective, and then just a partner and a coach.
Right.
You still need labs. I still run all these, I have data, and I need that objective quantitative data to help show where they are in their health status. But yeah, I want to say it's easy. It's still very, very hard, but that was the birth of the framework, is how can we quantify your potential? How can we quantify your perspective and your feeling of connection? And so that's what I was trying to do, is put this all and say, okay, here's where you're at and here's where you want to go.
Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to read the book because it's really, really fantastic. Hey, travel lovers, it's Melissa. Traveling with my family to explore new cultures brings me so much joy. And all business class travel can make it even better with their top-notch personalized service. Use promo code SAVVY, that's SAVVY, to get complimentary Black Car Airport transfers. All business class travel makes it easy to focus on what really matters, cherished memories. Visit allbusinessclass.com and start planning your next incredible journey. So, I feel like you're an exceptional functional medicine practitioner, respected in our community, but you're also a father and a husband. So as a dad, how do you feel like your trauma has shaped you as a parent?
I'm instilling resiliency in the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It might sound harsh, but I give them challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I give them, I don't want to say micro traumas. Let's call it micro challenges.
Okay, I like that better.
Yes. Yeah. But they need to fail.
Yeah.
And they need to learn. And they need to get up and have thicker skin and be more resilient. Mm-hmm. And so what happened to me felt like an absolute tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this happen to me? And I wish I could change it, but it now has revealed that it happened for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so that is what I try to instill in them, mm-hmm. which is you got to suffer a little bit. But with the correct amount of parenting.
No, right? I mean, I love that because we live in a community where things feel very easy sometimes, and they're not always going to live here, and they're not always going to have the creature comforts they may have. Yeah. And they have to be out in the world on their own. And they are not, this generation, in my opinion, is not very resilient. There is not much that they have to do that feels painful to them.
Yes. I agree. We talk about it often. Mm-hmm. You got to burst that bubble that we live mm-hmm. in, and you got to, this is my opinion, mm-hmm. you got to get them out. Because telling them is one thing. You should be grateful. Look at all these things you have. Mm-hmm. Look where we live. In fact, I've taken both of my kids on survival camps.
Mm-hmm.
And stressed them.
I'm going to have you take Noah and Sophia, but Noah needs it more than she does.
And it was hard.
Yeah.
And they came back and they had true gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we still do this to a certain mm-hmm. extent. And then we remind them because then they go back into our community, which is awesome.
Right.
And, they can get sucked in. And mm-hmm. so giving them reminders about, kind of our morals and our values and our mission and all that is, mm-hmm. is something that we try to do often.
No, and you do have to keep reminding them, because I know for me too, my kids are always sick of me taking them places, to volunteer or outside of this community, but they have to know that these places exist, and they have to know that they have the power to not only get over traumatic things, but to make a difference in the lives of people who need their help. And they have that power. And so I really feel like you do have to constantly remind them of all of those things, but that's why we're a parent, and that's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah, so, well said.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest challenge that fathers face dealing with their emotional and physical health?
So the father's physical and emotional, probably that, well, again, speaking from myself, we, as young boys, we always think we're alpha until we realize we're not alpha.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because we get put in our place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the pecking order.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it usually happens in junior high or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's still this sense of ego that we all have, mm-hmm. and I can handle this, and I'm, the leader or the captain of this tribe. And so I would say not asking for help, and I can handle this myself.
Yeah.
That would be it. I have a great group of friends and this Thrive tribe of fathers, and we sit and we talk about real challenges. Yeah. And it's very unique out mm-hmm. here and in general with middle-aged men that have careers and mm-hmm. are busy with kids and balancing it all. So I would say the majority, and the answer to your question is not not having that support group or not asking for help when they need it.
No, and I think I say this actually to my own husband, is that I think men don't have enough friends or thrive tribes. Women, it's more natural for us to have a group of women around us, hopefully that are super positive, that are, giving us the high fives all the time and just really encouraging us. But men are off at work, or they feel like they have to be the alpha, or all these things, and they don't have this place they feel safe where they can kind of talk about all the struggles that men go through just as much as women do, as fathers and as husbands.
Yes. I have, as we all do, many different circles, right? And I have my friends, my dad friends, and we sit and we talk about sports, and we talk about how cool our kids are and all the great things we're doing and how successful we are. And then we go home and then we do it again on the next time I see them.
Right.
And that's just normal. But I'm saying a support group or a circle where you're being real and authentic and genuine and vulnerable. So, I think that would be really beneficial for the men that are struggling with that.
I do too. And I think, honestly, you provide that as a functional medicine practitioner as well. When a man or woman, but comes to you, you're kind of splitting them open in that you make them look at those parts of their life. It's not just about like running or, eat what they're eating or, get a little more sleep. Like, you're making them really examine some of the harder emotional questions that they need to answer to find the best well-being they can possibly have.
Yeah. And some people are open to it and some people are not. And so, like I said before, it's how can I connect with them and how can they reveal to me what's really going on. And once we have that trust and rapport, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that would be a really powerful moment. I loved the stories in your book, like, telling the method through the different stories, because you could see these types of transformation through the men and women that you share their stories in the book.
Corey and Kelly and Trevor and Ava. Yeah. They're, I think we can relate to all of that. It's just the challenges that we all have with our mental fitness and, the ping-ponging of thoughts and emotions and fears in our head. And so, I tried to throw some stories. They were all aliases.
Yeah.
They were patients, but they were all aliases.
Yeah, I know. You have to protect the HIPAA. Based on your professional expertise, your personal journey, what are some of the core values other than resilience that you're trying to instill in your kids?
Oh, we have them.
Okay. I'd love to hear them.
This is a shout out to Rich Christensen. I learned about this about 10 years ago. He has something called Legato Family, and it's like a awesome comprehensive guidebook about you create your family and your tribe like a business. And so you have different roles and responsibilities, but everyone contributes. And so it would be like a board meeting, and we would do this around the dinner for months. And so the kids would we'd all agree on our values and what we want our legacy to be and what we do together and what our traditions are. So the 5 values that we decided, and they're different for every person, but it's love, health, gratitude, leadership, and humility.
Okay, those are all amazing ones.
But it was hard finding them.
I bet. Well, I mean, when you're including the kids, you're also trying to teach them and expose them to all different, values, and then come to a common consensus. And that's not always easy with kids, So.
Yes, it was so powerful for them. They were a part of it. They created mantras. They created the blessing that we do at meals. They say it every night, and they created it, and it basically states all 5 of those. And I know that's a little unusual. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that, but I felt like it was very important for our North Star as a family, and everyone has different ones. And so, those are the 5 for us.
Right. I love it. Well, you're setting the bar really high for every family listening, but I do hope that what you're saying is an inspiration to every family listening and every parent listening, because having that conversation with your kids has to be the most powerful thing. And then having a blessing or a prayer I know the power of prayer in my own home and with what it's done for my son and for me. I think that is a great thing, and that you repeat it like a mantra all the time. And it reminds them that you're all on the same page and what they're living for.
Yes. It's still very, very challenging, and they forget. But when there's a problem or challenge, or they're dealing with something and they need guidance, or they don't need guidance and I'm giving it to them, which is, I have 2 teenagers now. So it's, we always default to that, which is what you're deciding. Does it fall within these things? And it's a simple thing. And okay, I know what those stand for. Am I making decisions that aren't aligned with those? And so I don't have to go on a lecture. This is still, I am not sitting here as, father of the year and family of the year. We have tons of problems, but just like every family does, and challenges and issues. But that has been a crucial kind of universal mantra or mission that we always defer to.
Yeah. And we're not saying that we have all the answers today on this podcast, because we don't. But, if you can help another family get to that point where they're kind of all on the same page, because everyone is dealing with so many issues in their life, and so many difficult things and traumas. And so the advice is just to try to have a mantra for your family, or, this set of values that you can go back to. And, Ryan and I were talking about our kids earlier and how they're being pulled in so many different, directions. So to have that is really key.
It is very difficult being a kid these days, and let alone a teenager. There's, like I said, there's so many distractions, so much noise, so many opinions, watching so many other people do other things. It's hard being a teenager, just an adolescent period. Yes. And so, being there and, giving them space to talk about it. But there's outbursts and there's freakouts and there's fighting. And I mean, we deal with all of this.
Oh yeah.
And so, I encourage a lot of patients to do this as well. If they feel like there's a misalignment in their tribe, you don't have to do a full legato family and, mission statement and crest and all of that. You just sit down and say, hey, here's a list of 20 different things. Which one do you think is the most important to us? I mean, simple stuff.
Right.
So,
right. You talked about, with adults and with your patients, getting rid of the noise and stepping away from the noise. Do you allow social media with your kids? And if you do, how do you manage that with them so they have the best health possible? Because to me, even though my children, not my daughter, but my son has social media, it is very unhealthy to me.
Yes. So knowing the distractions that it brings, we have not.
Okay.
And so my 15-year-old girl's a freshman in high school at SRV. She does not have it. And trust me, she is the anomaly. She's the freak.
No.
in
her
world.
Yes. In her world. Yes. That's very rare for a parent to be able to hold out till 15 or longer, that a child does not have social media. I will say it shows the amount of respect she has for you and your wife, that she's followed that rule. But can you just give us a little insight on why you decided that for your family?
I guess seeing what it did to me. I mean, it is, and I'm not on it often at all. I mean, I now finally created a social media account just for my practice, for, my career ambitions, and now I have to post, and, it's kind of a love-hate, and I'm finding a way to do it that's aligned with, but I find myself doing this, and looking at it and all those little dopamine hits. And so I just feel we together as a family felt like, okay, we'll get you a phone, and you can do Snapchat, and you can text, and you can, be part of your friend group. But let's just hold off and see what you witness or observe of the others. And then there's always time to go back. And so she's just kind of seeing what it does to her friends. And so I think that's a really great experiment. And then I'll, probably by 16, we'll do it. I just feel like I just needed a couple years for her.
No, I love it. So I made the big mistake of giving it to my son fairly early, I would say. And then now we've had this discussion similar to you with my daughter where we're not allowing it because she's witnessed what it's done with and what's happened with her brother and social media. So I do think including her in that conversation was an important piece of it because she does feel some ownership. I mean, some days she still wants to have it, but I'm really happy that she's on board with waiting for a while.
Yeah, I just see it as a win-win. Yeah, and my son, who's 13, does not have a phone at all, and a lot of his friends have phones, and we've dealt with feeling like he's not part of the group because he's not. So it's just not all peaches, and we're this like super holy, like mantra mission driven family, and we just sit there and run through the roses. Not at all. They get very mad at us for doing that. But to your point, I think him seeing my daughter and just kind of stepping back and be like, okay, it's cool. I don't really need it, but we'll probably do it when he gets into high school. Yeah, in terms of a phone.
And I'll just say that I also think it's a great lesson that we don't need to follow the crowd. And I feel like with social media as an adult or as a child, like we're getting used to following the crowd or following who has followers and all these things where, I would encourage everyone to step back from that. And I'm trying to encourage my kids to be a leader, as you mentioned, one of your values. And by being a leader, you're not following the crowd.
Yes, we talked about this, and that's why we said leader, be a leader, not a follower. And so it's very important to us. And it's still natural to follow people. I mean, we admire different things and qualities about other people. But yeah, that's, I think, one action step in being a leader. They do things that are different and unconventional than other kids. But, that's kind of that's the domain that we've created for them.
Hey friends, it's Melissa. I want to talk to you about something that has been life-changing for me, therapy. I've personally used therapy, and I can tell you firsthand how powerful it is to have someone in your corner guiding you through life's challenges. That's why I'm proud that today's sponsor is BetterHelp, an online therapy service that makes it easy to get the help you or your family needs from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're struggling with stress, anxiety, or just need someone to talk to, BetterHelp is here for you. And for listeners of the Savvy Giving Gal podcast, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy when you use our link in the description. Take that step towards a healthier you because you're worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/savvy to get started today. Can you just give parents one piece of advice on raising healthy kids? Like what would a couple of those little pieces of advice, other than obviously this family unit of discussion and values, like what could they do to kind of help their kids be healthier?
My first kind of instinct is like, don't feed them toxic stuff. Because when we're talking about kids, we're talking, let's just call them 12 or younger. Like we're really clear as a medical community about what those dyes do, and those preservatives and those artificial sweeteners and all of that. And so for behavior and mood and sleep. So that would be my first instinct, to say that. And then I'd probably say the easiest thing for health would be have a passion that or a hobby or an interest that they're very, very curious about, and then try to facilitate that as much as possible. I could go through the whole 7 elements and say, do this and that, and I do it with kids and different patients. So my instinct would be don't feed them toxic things, and feed them nourishing food so that their body is nourished and they're healing. But yeah, I would say remove the noise, and find that passion.
Yeah, I like all of those because I'm crazy about what my kids eat. But it's also like, that passion and helping them find it. Noah was curious about boxing. And of course, as a parent, you're like, oh, I don't know if you should go do that. But I put my kind of scary mom hat on, took it off. And he has found this incredible passion that drives him towards better health is my point. Like he wants to go to this place where all these men are super, and women, but his coaches are men, super inspiring, super excited. It's physical. They tell him to eat well. So it is providing those kind of areas to learn and to do something active and that excites your kid has been great for us.
I love it. 100%. We can tell them do these things, but all of a sudden something is super exciting to them and they're really stoked to go learn more or go do it. And they're kind of building on that foundation of our values. Another thing I just thought of is a quote, but it's teach our kids how to think, not what to think. And that's kind of the leader aspect. We've talked about that. There's a big difference. So that would be, I would add that to the simple health thing. How to think, not what to think.
I love that because when they're little, you kind of try to tell them what to think. And now as they're growing older, when my kids do something philanthropic, it makes me smile just a little or a lot because now they're thinking of how to think. Like they're thinking that way on their own.
Yes.
And that makes me very proud. And it also makes me think they were listening when they were younger and maybe I taught them something.
Yes, well, I'm sure they did. And it is very, very fulfilling as a parent to see that. It's problem solving. It's looking at all the angles. And look, I'm a big fan of AI for what it can do, but we are, from an evolutionary standpoint, moving away from how to think. And so we won't even get into that.
Yeah, that would be a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah.
So at the end of every episode, I ask my guests these 3 questions. So first, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
I would like to think it's those stages of change. I teach people a holistic way to be healthy. I give them the resources and I inspire them. And so they are maximizing their potential and their potential helps the potential of their tribe and then helps the potential of the community. So I feel like I'm kind of depositing very good energy into a smaller circle that then expands into the community. So yeah, it's extremely fulfilling.
Yeah. I can assure everyone listening that Ryan really is that pebble and that ripple effect. That's where it starts with you and you walk the walk and you are a beacon of health to everyone who comes in contact with you. And you do change lives and the lives of people that you have change other lives. So thankful that you're here sharing all this information. How has giving back positively impacted your mental, emotional, or physical health?
It's my therapy.
Yeah.
I still have trauma.
Yeah.
I just have a more wise and mature way of looking at what happened. Yeah, it happened 30 years ago, but I still deal with a lot of health problems. I mean, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have digestive failure. I have problems. And so the answer is me doing this is like reinforcing kind of getting into the light, and it's very, very fulfilling. And it's a sacred thing for me to help other people. So that
I love that. I love that little bit. And you're creating big light in the darkness for a lot of people when they're coming to you and they're struggling with something and you know what that's like. So to be that light to someone else is a blessing. Can you suggest one small act of kindness that our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives?
Yes. So I wake up every morning, kind of go through this ritual. Part of it, what I said and I alluded to, which is like, don't get on anything that distracts you. No TV, no laptop. no mobile phone, nothing. And I just kind of take inventory, like I told you about that. And that's when I practice mental fitness, which is, my term in the book of meditating and being able to listen to everything in my head. And then I set an intention. An intention's not a to-do. It's just the energy I want to bring that day. And it's almost like a little fun game. And one of them is compliment everybody. So
I love that.
Sending a simple compliment, like I really admire what you have created and the space that you're creating and what you're doing for our community. It's very admirable. So telling you that is a simple thing. And it's pretty crazy. It's a fun experiment to go and do it and just give people compliments. And especially the genuine ones, that people that that's very, very powerful. And then I would say a simple smile, like a smile at a stranger. That's another super interesting experiment, but you just walk by and you just smile and they're like, what's wrong with this person?
Well, Ryan is very smiley. Dr. Lazarus is very smiley, which is great because when I see you on the street or whatever, you're so welcoming. And that's a different vibe than walking around without a smile on your face. So
I mean, most communication is that nonverbal, right? It's only 10% of what we're saying and 90% of, how we're saying it or what we're revealing with our energy and our vibes. And it wasn't always that way. And there's times where, trust me, I'm frowning, but I mean, being in the light and being in the dark and knowing the difference between them, there's a lot that we all have to be grateful for. So
I agree. Finally, can you share with our listeners where they can connect with you and find your books?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Lazarus Method .com. That's the website. There's some really great tools on there that we've made available for free. It's what we call free health tools. So many of the resources that I even talked about, but great nutrition tips and workout tips and ways to find your values and your priorities or discover them or strengthen them. So that's the website. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. It's Dr. Ryan Lazarus. I think that's the handle. And then just Amazon. You go to Amazon, the book is on there.
Okay.
And so those are probably the best places.
Okay. I love it. I want to leave the listeners with my top 3 takeaways from chatting with Dr. Lazarus today. So first, Dr. Lazarus' his own journey proves that dark moments can spark profound change. Whether you're facing a health challenge or other struggles, use those tough times as a springboard to grow, heal, and find your true purpose. Second, the Lazarus Method emphasizes the power of connection. Whether it's connecting with yourself, your body, or your support system, start building those relationships today. The small steps towards connection can make lasting transformations in your life. And lastly, if you're looking for better health, it starts with you. Dr. Lazarus encourages everyone to implement simple, holistic strategies from his method, like proper nutrition and fitness habits that anyone can begin today and improve their well-being. Dr. Lazarus is also generously offering the Savvy Giving Gal listeners a complimentary discovery call to explore how he can support you in achieving your health goals. If you're looking for a personalized guidance on your wellness journey, this is a great opportunity to connect with him. A link to Dr. Lazarus' contact information will be available in the show notes. Dr. Lazarus, thank you so much for sharing all of this great information with me today.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all that you do. This is a great set and a great podcast, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate you too.
Coming to fill up my cup.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at SavvyGivingGal. You can also visit my website at SavvyGivingGal.com. Let's spread positivity together.